What is going on, her? Welcome back to another Blacksheep TV production. Today we continue our Does It Drift video series where we purchase vehicles and game build the car, drift spec, and test the car rigorously, see if it has the ability to be a drift car. And today is probably a very overdue video since I have pretty much tested all of the vehicles that we know to drift. Let's get into it. And this is my drift car. This is the drift car that I rely on. I don't care which one is the best one. This is my favorite drift car in the game. No questions asked. This is my shit. If you can't tell, this setup is modeled after Mad Mike Wadet's Mad Bull setup. Let's get this thing to the Formula Drift track and let's watch this beach shine. Now this is going to be another track that you guys haven't seen. However, these tracks are going to get their release very soon. They're very close to finished. I mean, some of these are finished. The ones that are finished are part of playlists that when I spend 2, 3, even 4 or 5 hours making tracks, sitting in that Rockstar Creator, I like to make sure that I have the perfect products, especially if people to this caliber, 200 plus subscribers now, which don't get me wrong, that's nothing, but we're getting to a place now where there's going to be people playing my product, and I want the product to be at least efficient enough for you guys to put a smile on your face when you're playing it. Now, I know you guys like what you see and whatnot. There's some tight corners, there's some rough, there needs to be a little bit more TLC to a couple of the tracks. Within the next 10 days, keep your eyes peeled. You will be seeing these tracks in a massive release going over that week that they start releasing. And when I say a massive, I mean a full Gymkhana playlist featuring probably 6 tracks, a full Formula Drift playlist featuring 4 or 5 tracks, and then another independent 3 to 7 tracks that are going to be seeing their release. Well, I should say 3 to 7 tracks, courses, even maybe some BMX edit stuff. Just things that are going to see their release coming up very soon. Things that have been getting edited for quite a while. Appreciate you guys listening to that and stay in tune to the video. I know you guys want to see this Banshee rolling, so let's get into it. The Banshee stance is just fine 9 times out of 10 in the front. I say 9 times out of 10 because 1 time out of 10 it seems to smoke and blow up on you. Unfortunately, I don't really know why that is. Okay, so good example, guys. Unfortunately, this is one of those times. First drop, second drop. That was half of a magazine. It was the other half remaining from that side. That's ideal. It's not just something that happens rarely. It's something that happens every once in a while. Now, in the back, you can either shoot it right up there and try not to hit the tire, but I go back in this area. I was explaining that whole 1 full magazine to a half a magazine thing simply because usually when you have to shoot the Banshee with a full magazine, that's the 1 time out of 10, or even 1 time out of 5 or 7 maybe is the realistic number. I don't so much pay attention because I'm very much so on these tracks with this car. I don't mess with it too much in free mode. Although I have, it sucks, and I even had to buy 2 of them at one point to mess with it in free mode because I kept blowing the one up and I'd have to call it in. I just call it yada yada yada. Let's get to this thing. I'm going to show you a couple laps on this Formula Drift track, how they're supposed to be done. Remember guys, Formula Drift is all about clipping points and touch and goes. A clipping point is a zone that has to be filled in full by getting your bumper as close to it as possible within a 1 foot distance. And a touch and go is about the same size of an area, but it's an area that you get that bumper in the same distance but only at any section on the area. Hopefully that makes sense to you. This isn't a Formula Drift lesson. Right now I'm just going to show you a few lines out of this Banshee. I'm going to turn my microphone on mute. I'm going to turn some volume up, turn some tunes on, and let's get into it. I do want to say right up front before I continue on with these laps that I am rusty as hell in this car. My goodness. This is the problem with the Does It Drift video series on me, is I end up having to kind of adapt to each vehicle. By the time I get adapted to it, I'm ready to grade it, and then I hop into a different vehicle, and I can't drive it worth I have the most time spent in this in the Schwarzer. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a very difficult vehicle to get down, and that's why you hear so many people complaining, oh, it's so touchy, oh, it's so finicky, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. This is a great drift car. When you want to go left, it'll go left. When you want to go right, you want to go right. And the best thing is there's very little delay. Now that is what people are complaining about. They're not used to having that immediate response from a car in GTA. What they're used to having is to have to set up into something for 3 seconds. Which, don't get me wrong, that's a great way to learn to drift, but this is your most advanced drifting car. That right there was a clean lap. That was good. That was how it's supposed to be done. Or at least damn close. I'll have to look at the replay on it. There you have it, guys. You should be able to completely tell how this thing reacts, how it performs, and definitely keep your eyes open for a how to Formula Drift video coming out in the near soon future. Let's get into grading this son beach, huh? So cost. This thing is a very expensive vehicle. You're going to have to get the base model Banshee. You're going to have to upgrade it to the 900R. That's going to set you back $100,000 for the base model. Then you're going to have to spend a cool $565K to get it into the 900R. After you get it into the 900R, you can change things out. I have the Hydro e-brake, which isn't really used. I wish he'd pull it. That'd be so sick. We also have the radio over there. We have the dash in. We got the aftermarket deal. We got some money into this thing. This thing is decked out to the max. It's how we want it to be. It's a pro drift car. For sure. And is it worth it? It's worth every single penny, even if you dump everything in like I did and put it's worth it. Absolutely worth it. Cost of what you're getting out of it, 10. It's an 11 actually, but I can't do that. It's a 10. Driftability. Driftability is where you're going to run into your disputes, so-called. Now, as you've seen, it's very touchy. When I come into this first one, you gotta have it just right, and then you get her going zing zing, you go flying around the corner, I'll just zing zing, but it's very, very touchy. It's a 1 second setup instead of a 3 second set. Oh, we're going into the wall. See, I only knew it at the last second, you know, and there I messed up my clipping point because of it. But the whole thing is did you see how fast and efficient you can be when you get good in this vehicle? If you want to be good at Formula Drift, this is the one you go with. Now, the way the EMDA was set up is this was the pro Formula Drift vehicle. Everybody would be running this vehicle, and to qualify up into pro, you would be pretty much, you know, amateur drifting, Class A drifting. I would say it's pretty much dead, even though we're rocking that emblem. The new drift crew is definitely in the works. So driftability then, guys. Driftability is where the disputes arise. Now, people do not... I don't know if they're not as well. Let me say one thing. There's two different ways of drifting. If we haven't gathered that by now, there's the way that I drift and the whole first gear, don't shift, don't let off the right trigger way, and that's hated on by the other people that drift in the second and third gear with the clutch kicking, even though there's no clutch in an automatic car. It's a tactic with the right button and letting off and hitting the trigger and going into a high RPM locked in and throwing into. It's a different tactic, and we're going to go into that tactic in the future. I'm not saying that that's a bad tactic or it's wrong, but our way is not wrong either. And now if you drift in that fast way, yes, I can see how this car is a little bit too much for handling. it's just a little bit too finicky. But if you drift in the way that we're currently drifting, and we're explaining how to drift and teaching how to drift and testing cars to see if they drift, this car is absolutely phenomenal. Does it outperform the Mamba? Does it outperform the Faction? I don't know. That's really up in the air. Is it the best drift car? It's so close. I can't even say the Mamba is the best drift car. The Faction and the Mamba are so close. The more and more you play with them, they equal each other out. They really do. Now this car is so different from those two that it's literally incomparable. You can't really put it on a comparison chart with those cars. However, this is getting a 10 out of 10 in driftability, and I can say right away with the efficiency. I do have to say though, in efficiency, it has to take 1 point, and that's simply because of the stancing issue. You're going to end up blowing this car up, or it's going to smoke on you, and it's going to be in free mode, and it's going to cost you like $12,000 or something like that. It is for the car. 9,000, something like that. It really racks up on you, especially if you call the car in because you blew it up and then you blow it up again. Like, it really sucks. So it is taking a 29 out of 30. Those other cars scored a 30 out of 30 with no questions asked, so therefore, this car isn't quite up in that top best car in GTA for drifting. However, in my eyes, it is the best drift car. I love this car, and it'll never change. Unless I go into the fast drifting, and yeah, then it'll change a little bit. But I'll still always have this car for this style of drifting. No questions asked. I appreciate every single one of you guys tuning in, liking, comment, subscribing. Keep your eyes open for that massive release of tracks. That is definitely coming. Also, keep your eyes open for the release of the new Drift Crew, guys. Yeah, the new Drift Crew is coming. Although some people may hate on the name, although some people may not understand what the name means, or maybe think it's a knockoff name of something else. The name is what it is. I've developed this thing to be pretty simple. It's not anything too intricate, but there will be a qualification, guys. There will be qualifying. I'm not really at this current time taking in the fast double clutching. You have to kind of drift the same way that we're drifting here. Or Xbox One, if you don't have an Xbox One, maybe you want to think about getting an Xbox One. I'm going to be doing plenty of drifting. I am going to be engaging with my subscribers. You do have to be a subscriber to be in the Drift Crew. I will put that out. You do have to be active on the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, stay happy, stay positive, and we will definitely speak to you next time.